Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the TraderMerlin Show. I got all kinds of problems going on over here today. Big mistakes on my part, so sorry about the late start. I actually was streaming it on Online Trading Academy's YouTube page, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for that one. But we deleted that. We are back for my channel, the TraderMerlin channel. I most likely confused a lot of you because I have a feeling I'm not going to see many people in this room today, given my delay and my blunder. Anyway, my apologies to everybody getting started a little bit late here. One of those kind of days, I tell you. As you guys may have noticed, the graphic for today representing what I plan to be doing over the next couple days, which is just going to be relaxing. Maybe a little whiskey in the hand today. We're actually doing Modelo on today's show, so it's going to be a lighter beverage day today for sure. But I'm going to go through a bunch of listener questions here and answer as many of them as I can. I know several of you have sent in questions, and given the fact on how this stream got all messed up today, we'll see if you're even here to hear the responses to your questions. So I'm going to run through our top 7 markets, or 8 markets, now that we can add the dollar index in there, to see what's going on, how this market looked, and what might be the opportunities out there, what my trades ended up doing, and then we will move on from there. So let me go to our top 7. I will go to the very bottom here. Hey, Daryl, good to see you. I'll start with that dollar index. So we talked about this dollar index looking like it was a bullish flag formation, but the fact that it keeps getting lower and lower and lower, guys, to me at this point, you can pretty much write off that this is a bullish flag formation. Looks like it's going to keep going lower and lower and lower. The good news for anybody who's bullish, look at this red line on your screen here. That's your 200 period moving average, which a lot of people focus on. You notice back here, we hit the 200 period moving average and bounced off of it. It feels like that might be the case, but bearishness is, at least to the dollar, gaining momentum, and that's been part of the catalyst for these great market rallies. The Russell was up over 1.25% today, so good move there. S&P was up as well. Nasdaq just slightly down, but not that big of a deal. But this chart right here, my attitude has changed on this one. You guys know I was very bullish on the dollar, and it just feels like that sentiment is now gone. Of course, the weaker that dollar gets, the better it is for our markets overall. So that's your the weakest one today, down 0.55%. Gold, on the other hand, a little bit of a shooting star here. Now, I've had a lot of questions on shooting stars, how I look at them, how I trade them, what's the setup. So let me real quickly explain this again for those who might be new to the channel. Again, everybody needs to trade how they see fit. You're going to find patterns, you're going to find opportunities, you're going to listen to somebody's amazing trading strategy. Take it all with a grain of salt. It's all about having rules around the trades that you make so that when you do make a trade and it turns out poorly, you can go back and look at your rules and see if they need to be modified or edited to accommodate for whatever you may have missed. So with my rules, it's fairly simple, and I try to keep this as simple as possible. If you look at the gold chart right here, we've had this 4-day rally up. Pretty nice rally. Today was actually a higher high and then came back down and closed near the lows. That's a shooting star formation. Now, it's not with high volume, so that's not really that optimistic. Not excited I got low volume on this one. But if on Monday or Sunday night futures markets open up above 1981 for gold and then proceed to drift below 1981, then there's your opportunity for a short opportunity. I think that's I go to I'm not sure if I'm doing shows next week. I got a lot of things I got to do there, Ken, so we'll see if maybe I can get to that one today. So that's your gold chart. Again, I don't have ETFs or futures on gold. I just have spot gold. What I do have, though, is I have silver. Silver has a pretty bearish pattern today as well. Some would argue that was a shooting star that happened on yesterday's session. I was really hoping we'd close at $21.99 because, as I told you, I have calls against my position that I was selling silver at $22 and $22.50. The good news for me is I will probably look to sell those $23 call options expiring in December. Now, I need to wait until Monday. I really wasn't planning on doing any trading the next couple weeks, it's tail end of the year. I like to really take it easy. Again, I told you I was having a pretty darn good year. I've given some back on the shorts on the NASDAQ, which have been a little bit irritating. But all in all, silver's been a great one for me, and if I can get a nice pop-up on Monday, that's really what I want. I'd love to see silver have a huge gap up Monday, and I'll sell some calls against it, maybe even higher levels, and get a better rate of return. Michael says, is it really a shooting star if it's not above the previous candle high? Well, let me go back to technically, there's a lot of ways to go around that one, Michael, and a lot of people have their opinions on what it is. For me, what's most important is the fact we've had this uptrend here for 4 days on gold. You did make a higher high today, and I know what you're saying. You're saying, ideally, I want this entire candle to be outside the range of Thursdays. Yes, that would make it a perfect textbook, amazing shooting star formation. But remember, the pattern is telling you a story. And the story is, in my opinion, pretty much the same story, whether that candle is higher than the next one or, in the range of it, right? It's telling you that for today, there was very bullish momentum. Things were surging to the upside, big green candle for gold. And then all of a sudden it came crashing down and closed near the session lows. And that's evident when we slice this up and look at something like, let's say, a 5-minute time frame. There's your surge up, right? Your surge up in the after hours, and then came crashing back down and closing right near those lows. That's a very bearish sign, and even more so when I look at this chart right here. If you look at this 5-minute time frame of gold, notice that when it started to sell off, it's been bouncing at this 1981 level, looks like about 3 times, at least relatively close, and then it was making lower highs along the way. That's really bearish, right? This really feels like gold is setting up for a sell-off. If tomorrow's markets were open, I'd be poised with my finger on the trigger looking to short gold at a break below 1981. Unfortunately, the markets are closed. Actually, fortunately for some of us who want some sanity and get away from these markets every now and again, markets are closed tomorrow, so we don't have to worry about that. But yes, ideally, this candle for today would be higher, and even outside the range would be fine. But doesn't matter. But how many of anything is perfect? Exactly, boss. And that's kind of why the way I explain shooting stars and the different candlestick formations is, while we want it to be textbook perfect, very rarely is it going to be textbook perfect, but can we still glean from that candle today the same basic information that you had very bullish sentiment and then very bearish sentiment and closed on the lows or right near the lows? That to me is the telling piece, that we closed near the lows. Now, unfortunately, markets are closed. Otherwise, it would be fun to see how this one pans out tomorrow, but we'll have to wait until Monday's trading session to see how it really comes to fruition. So that was your 7th place finisher, NASDAQ. Pretty much unchanged on the day. What I find interesting about this one is you have really 3 days in a row that has done almost nothing. Very rarely do you see a market that opens and closes at about the same price for 3 straight days, particularly something as strong as the NASDAQ that's up 10% in the past couple of weeks. So this is an odd pause. Normally when you have something pause like this, it reflects profit taking, but you're not getting it. The price of the NASDAQ isn't selling off, which would imply bullishness going forward. So as bearish as I can possibly be on this market, I can't really be pulling any short trades right now because the market's showing strength. NASDAQ is not selling off in the face of other areas of weakness. It's really holding right there. So that's very positive for anybody here who's bullish on the NASDAQ. All right, we're almost at the podium. I'm at 5th place right now with the S&P, which the story is the same. Well, Questlock, as we mentioned yesterday, and I'll mention a bunch more times. Remember, the Santa Claus rally is only the last 5 days of the trading year plus the first 2 days of January. That's the Santa Claus rally. Statistically, that's the Santa Claus rally. We all think that it's got to start in November, right? The shopping starts, the spree starts, and here we go. Yeah, I guess in one perspective, you could say that's the Santa Claus rally getting ready for it. It's really the last 5 days and the first 2 of January. If you look at Trader's Almanac, etc. So I'm also going to post this here. I don't know too much self-promotion, but here is I'm putting into chat a link to an article that I wrote. This was actually brought up and picked up on MSNBC, and I'm hoping that most of these get picked up on MSNBC, but it really was kind of per our comments yesterday. I told you I was writing an article on this one. It says, now is the time to buy Walmart. And I just, in transparency, I do have a position open on Walmart right now. I sold the 155 put options. Very risky to do so, at least at this moment. If you look at Walmart, it actually started looking good today. Had a nice little bounce, but continued to drift lower. I do think that Walmart's going to drift lower. As I identify in this article, there are some demand zones at much lower levels, like 145 and 137, that I am more interested in buying at, but I wanted to get a little bit of action on that Walmart trade. So we'll see how that one pans out. The premium was fairly decent, and I think Walmart will survive this. They're the kings, and they're doing so many other business things right now that I jumped onto that one. So anyway, there you go, Questlock. You threw me a squirrel. I had to look at that one and just change my talk track. But let's go back to our markets. S&P looking pretty much the same as the NASDAQ with those 3 days, although the S&P is slightly stronger. You notice that those last 3 candles on the S&P have been making slightly higher highs. There was an opportunity on yesterday's trading session to go short, but it was very short-lived. We had a shooting star that was similar to the one we have on gold right now. S&P had that same basic pattern on Wednesday. Let me see. I want to get that volume off my chart, and then we'll go back to that. Perfect. Let me get that moving average off, too. It just distracts me when I have that stuff on the charts. All right, fourth place, the 10-year. I'm not sure why this one showed back up. I think maybe we left that one there. I guess I'll have to leave it there because we have the same thing on the Russell, which actually hit the target. I really doubt that this 10-year is going to hit that target of 3.95%. Right now you're at 4.43. A red day for it, but it's just barely. Actually, it says positive 0.05%, so I'll call it unchanged for that 10-year. All in all, this doesn't mean much to me. If anything, I would think it's actually going to be popping up a little bit and then selling back off to the south side. Now, as Big Ev says, a hell of a November. Yeah, this may go down as one of the best Novembers. We'll see how it finishes, right? Ultimately, it comes down to what happens at the end. But it's got to be one of the strongest starts to November in history. This is a pretty phenomenal rally to start. Literally started end of October, right? Last week was really the beginning of it, and it just kept on going and going and going. You know, I'll bring up some charts here, and if we go vertical line to show you when this really started, October 27th, that Friday, is where it bottomed out, and from that point, it's just been ripping. So we'll leave a couple green candles off of this assessment, but really the month of November for the S&P 500, at this point right now, where we stand as a Friday's close, up 7.67%. That's 2 weeks. I mean, that's just unbelievable rally up there for the S&P. So all in all, fantastic. Actually, it's 3 weeks, but fantastic move up there. I'm disappointed because you guys know I was talking about buying at these demand zones. I bought the NASDAQ 100 and I caught these two green candles right here. I had a great trade, but man, if I just kept it, right? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Can't look back on it and regret it. I did the right thing. I know I've received some grief from a couple people saying, why would you do that? You're stupid, blah, blah. Look, in hindsight, you just don't know. Remember, going into an FOMC announcement, as well as what came out that week, there was a core PCE price index number, I believe. Yeah, a lot of really critical data came out that week, and I just didn't want to be in front of that. I thought it was too much. Oh, and it was Apple's earnings as well. And from that, the markets have not looked back. They've had two red candles over the course of the last 14. Pretty amazing. Yeah, phenomenal thus far, Big Ed. Driving me crazy. The shorts have been hurting me bad. All right, top three. Let's go to our podium time here. We got Bitcoin, which is just all over the place with regards to volatility. We had that monster day on Wednesday, up to the upside, then gave most of it back. Now recuperating a little bit, but if you notice in the crypto sphere, you're not a lot of giant gainers today. Oops, there's my crypto stuff. You have a couple that I'm still in, like Civic, which this coin's been beaten down dramatically, but not a lot of gigantic gainers in the mega cap stuff, at least the big market cap crypto ones. Matter of fact, you have a lot of negative pieces here, so not a lot of change. Bitcoin was up on the day 1.46%, but all in all, I'm not that excited about where it stands right now. I don't see anything that's noteworthy out of it. Yep. Yeah, there was that earnings from Apple on Thursday night, which was, excuse me. All right, podium time. That was bronze medal. Here is the silver medal, which is the Russell 2000. Yesterday we had a great shooting star, or not yesterday, Wednesday we had that great shooting star with tremendous follow through. I had that red line drawn on there. I was hoping some of you may have taken that trade below 1802 on the Russell. You had a pretty aggressive sell-off that day. Today, we just recuperated it all. Now, someone asked me in an email, and I apologize, I'm running late today, so I didn't get everything all set up. Is that a Harami formation? And I'm going to say yes, but it's a yes and no. I know you're like, thanks, Dr. Obvious and Mr. Ambiguous, but if you look at these two candles right here together, this red one and the green one on the far right side of the chart, that's a Harami formation, right? The fact that it's after a long uptrend, you want to have a green candle followed by a red candle. In this case, you have a red followed by a green. So it's not really an impactful Harami formation. And for those who know, Haramis are typically reversal formations. So I don't put a lot of emphasis on this one right now. It just feels like consolidation and things slowing down a little bit for the Russell 2000, but I would not trade it the normal way that I would trade a Harami formation. So that was your number two. Up 1.29%, having a great day. All in all, a fantastic week for the Russell, although well off its highs when it hit about 1840 on Wednesday. And the big leader today, which about time has a little bit of a move up, crude oil. Crude oil is up 4.04%. Still not erasing all of yesterday's losses. I'm going to leave this blue line on here. I know I talked about, I forget why we had that line drawn there. Nah, you know what? I don't remember why. It's going to go away. So at this point right now, you're looking at if any move up here in crude oil should be viewed as a pullback, a retracement for a potential short opportunity. The trend is your friend, and really starting in mid-September or late September, been on a nice little downtrend here. So my assumption would be that this is going to continue. Therefore, keep your eyes on shorting opportunities for crude oil. That said, long term, I am bullish. I think that this will be a sell-off for a little bit, but I do, again, think the escalation is going to get worse. I don't think that demand destruction is as severe as everybody is saying. All these analysts are saying it's the end of the world for crude oil. It's like, no way, man. Not a chance. Crude oil will be, throughout my lifetime, it will still be a major part of consumption globally. What did I have? I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I thought it was kind of funny. When you look at all of the different components that generate electricity around the world, right? So I'm totally going off topic here. That's just what a little Friday Modelo is going to do. I didn't feel like whiskey today. My throat's a little raspy, so cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. And not sponsored by Modelo, but I sure wouldn't mind. Damn it. I totally forgot where I was going off with the... See, this is what happens. This happens on a Friday show. Confused all over the place. All right, I will continue on the crude oil part here, and then we'll move on to other questions here because I forgot where I was going to go with that talk track. So as you guys know, I told you I am bullish on crude oil long term. For the short term, I am bearish. Now, here is the question that I was going to ask you now that I remember. If you look at around the world, right? Every country around the world needs to generate electricity. And there's all these different methods to generate electricity. What do you think is the number one? It's the most utilized to generate electricity. Are we talking wind, hydroelectric, solar, oil, coal, nuclear? Which source generates the most electricity around the world? I was really interested to see. Natural gas is on there as well, absolutely. Right? It's really interesting. Let me see if I can find find it for you real quick. I thought it was an incredibly interesting graphic. Bear with me just a minute here as I try to find it. And hold on a second here. So I see natural gas. I see coal. You guys are right. It's coal. And it's funny because I would never have thought that it would be coal. Honestly, it just didn't even cross my mind that it would be coal. But yeah, I'm trying to find the statistics for you because there's a chart that was put together by... Oh, where is it, Merlin? Come on. All right, I guess I can't find it. Tell you what, this is one of those Fridays. My mind must be all askew. But yeah, coal number one. I believe natural gas was second, which actually was a surprise to me as well. Let me see if I can find it here. Huh. Oh, well, I don't know where it went. Never mind. Hydro is actually much more than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be much lower than it was. So let's see. It's called Visual Capitalist. Let me see. Visual Capitalist. All right, let's see what Visual Capitalist, if I can find that graphic here. Hydro is coming up close. Yeah, I think that's really interesting that hydroelectric was actually like as close as it was. I did not expect it to be anywhere near. Oops, there it was. I just had it and then it went away on me. Oh yeah. I feel like this is one of those Fridays. There it is. Okay, sorry guys, it took me forever to find it. Here is the graphic. So you look at electricity sources by fuel in 2020, so not including 2023. But you see coal was 35.4%. Natural gas was number 2 at 22.7%. Surprisingly, hydroelectric was number 3. I thought that I would not have guessed that in a million years. If you gave me one of the top 5, I don't know if I put hydroelectric on the top 5, but apparently it is. 14.9% of energy generation around the world in 2022 came from hydroelectric. 9.2% came from nuclear, and that's 4. Your 5th place winner is wind. Wind was 7.2% of energy generation, or of electricity generation, and solar was 4.5. I thought that was a really interesting graphic for those who are interested. I will actually copy and paste that one into chat. I know sometimes it doesn't show up for you guys, but I thought that was just a really cool article. Anyway, that's what I get for deviating from the norm. All right, let's see. People think the market will go higher due to lower rates, but it might come at a price of slower growth and higher unemployment thoughts. You think the markets will go up because of lower rates? Well, I actually am more in the camp that I do think it'll go up because of lower rates. I think lower rates generally are a stimulus for the economy. Again, it's borrowing rates. And if you look at any business right now that's looking to expand, they may expand because of cash on hand. And of course, a lot of companies are cash rich right now. We looked a while back at, what was it, Apple, $60 billion in cash or so, $45 billion in cash. So they probably don't need to tap into any debt pool to get money for operations. But other businesses, particularly those small cap companies that are just starting out, they'll be looking to tap into lower loans, cheaper costs of capital if they start to lower. So in theory, when we get those lower rates, that should stimulate growth. And then once we get businesses investing money to expand, then that expansion brings on more employees, and then more employees bring on more consumption, more employees bring on more spending, and then we start to see an upward spiral of economic growth. So right now, it feels like that's the direction we're going to be headed, but I think that'll happen mid to late next year is when you start to see those rate cuts. I don't think we're going to see that rate cut unless we can see that rate cut anytime this year for sure. And I think the first quarter is off the table, at least in my mind. Pepe says cheaper debt to buy a house, cars, electric. Yep. So you can exactly. It just bolsters the GDP numbers, which is good for economic growth. And then as businesses see that GDP is growing and the country is on a stable footing, then they're going to be more optimistic towards expansion and growth. I don't know, anybody here is in Orange County. They're opening up it's called Northgate Mall. It's like a Mexican food market. Went by there today. It's right on Harbor and Wilson in Costa Mesa. I feel bad for any of you that don't have a Northgate Mall in your hometown or anywhere near it. This is my first experience with it, and my goodness, what an amazing place! Like if there's any Mexican food you want, it's there and it is delicious. I'm looking forward to going back, but it doesn't even officially open till tomorrow. That parking lot that it's in is usually, I will say, 10% full of vehicles. Today, we're talking packed to the max. Every spot is full and cars circling trying to find parking. Mayhem in that parking lot today. That's a sign of economic growth, right? They brought in a whole new business to that area. And would they do that if they thought the economy was going to be slowing down? Well, to be honest, they started this 2 years ago. So they probably just got the market timing just perfectly. But Big Ab, I'm in the camp of lower rates are going to lead to more economic growth. Just from basic economics, when you have lower rates, what's the argument that it's going to stall growth, right? So you see here it says, but it might come at a price of slower growth and higher unemployment. No, to me that's higher rates. If we keep getting higher rates, that's slower growth and higher unemployment. I think it's that you got it backwards. Every day is Taco Tuesday in Orange County. Gotta love it. We have so many amazing Mexican foods to choose from. I'm blessed. Now, if I could I have to go to Westminster to find the really good like dumplings and pho and give me some good bun bo hue. Oh, mamma mia, the bun bo hue. Anyway, I'm digressing. Let's see. One other piece that I did not bring up, in which I do want to get to, at least show that chart, was the inversion of that yield curve. Right, this has been something that I'm definitely keeping an eye on, and it was looking really good for a while, and all of a sudden hesitating again. Really starting to show a bit of a hesitation here on that upswing. I wonder exactly why that is. Certainly the short end of the yield curve hasn't changed, but the long end, it feels like those rates may be declining, which is causing further inversion of that yield curve. And we've seen that drop here recently. Tom says, new OC eating establishments always start strong, and I tell my wife, got to go before they go out of business. This one ain't going out of business. This one is pretty cool. Check it out, Tom, and let me know what you think. I don't know if you've ever been there before. This place was really well done, and it's extremely reasonable prices. We were walking by, and they have a huge wing where they make fresh tortillas, both flour and corn tortillas. They got these nice machines, and they're making it all fresh. And the lady's just handing out fresh, hot flour tortillas. I know we have some Indian viewers here. It's like naan. Like, I love naan bread, but these were almost like a Mexican naan. It was such thin, light, delicious. Oh, so good. Anyway, so are cybersecurity firms real things? Sure. Obviously, cybersecurity is a massive issue right now. Do I have any firms off the top of my head that I could reference? No, I don't. It's not. As you guys may have figured out, I'm a very jaded person, which means there's times where if I get burned by something, I really hold grudge. Obviously with my relationship with Sam, obviously, you burn me once, shame on me. And anyway, I got burned on a cybersecurity firm back in the late 90s. President Clinton came out and said, this company is a national treasure. It's critical to the infrastructure growth of the United States, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hook, line, and sinker, right? I fell for this bad boy, and I bought into it, and I ended up writing Exodus Communications. Exodus Communications all the way to zero. Rode that to bankruptcy. And that was supposed to be internet security. It's supposed to be the cybersecurity firm. So I don't follow them very well, but I do think that they're a critical part of the makeup of the entire landscape of our markets. Not just technology firms, but everybody right now. Everybody is doing something that has digital footprints and vulnerabilities to their businesses, to their data, to their software platforms. You got to have that cybersecurity. I think it's really critical. All right. I think Kenley says, I missed your response to what happened to Tellurian. Can you respond next week? I never made a comment about Tellurian. I didn't. I don't think I made a comment on it. As far as what's going on with it, you look at this price chart here, and they're natural gas, if I'm not mistaken. You look at this chart. My talk track is simple. I'd stay away from it. It looks like they're losing money quarter after quarter after quarter. The chart looks like garbage. If you're going to buy this thing, it's a total gamble play. Now, could it pop up to $2, $3, $4, $5? Sure, absolutely could. But at this point, it looks like it's going to zero. And that's just what the chart is saying. If there was big interest here, you'd have big volume. And certainly you have a lot of volume over the past 2 months, way higher than normal. But still, the chart is just pushing lower and lower and lower and lower. Now, there may be a big short squeeze going on with this one, and it could be there may be a bunch of shorting going on this one, and it could be a short squeeze. But yeah, I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't touch this Tellurian just because that trend is so low. And if you are going to buy long this thing, you make sure it's with gamble money. It could have a huge pop, right? It could be one of those things that jumps 100, 200% in a day. But right now, that chart looks like it's going to go to zero in my book. You're right. Fortinet was a big one. I think Larry talked about that one. I still have my Fortinet position. So you guys know, I told you I sold puts on FTNT a couple weeks back. Still have that position. That's expiring December 8th. I think I'll be fine with that one. I have a lot of positions expired worthless today. So I had sold puts on silver. I sold puts on the triple Qs. I sold puts on XLY. I sold some puts on XLU. Obviously, the way this market moved this week, all those are just going to expire worthless, which is great because I ended up getting the percentage rate of return that I told myself I wanted. Missed out on a lot of the upside move though for these markets over the past couple weeks, which has been a little bit frustrating. Pepe says, I have to go watch the recording tonight, mainly to see how the show's scheduled for next week. Have fun. I know. I will. You'll get the first copy, Pepe. I'll let you have that one. What time is it? Yeah, I was planning on wrapping up the show early today anyway. So let me go to a couple of questions here. Got Uncle Kevin. No, you don't. Quincy, hey, Kevin's not wrong about the rally. And by the way, say hi to Kevin for me. Love Kevin. He's I haven't talked to him much recently, but he's just a great guy. Kevin is an awesome dude. Kevin Green is who he's speaking of OTA. Markets are like body parts. We've all got certain ones. And, my belief that this market is I'm still bearish overall. I still don't believe the economic data, but that's what's gotten me in trouble the past 2 weeks. I've taken some pretty nice losses this past 2 weeks because my mindset says we're coming to supply. Let's short that rally into supply. And unfortunately, the 2 times I've done that over the past 2 weeks, boom, I got smoked on those. Done, right? I have to go with what that market says. And if Kevin thinks that this market's going to continue to rally, I tend to agree with him. I'm not sure Questlak if he does, but at this point, it feels like that market wants to continue to rally. Regardless of my beliefs or any other preconceived notion I have, the market's going to do what it wants to do, right? There's the old adage, markets remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So the thing is, and I don't know what you're saying is whether Kevin's long or bullish or bearish in the market. It doesn't really matter. Both of us could have different opinions. He could be bullish, I could be bearish. And we could still be right in the long run, depending on what our time frame is. So let's see. Ganesh, what do you do if you sell the puts and the stock has a run up a lot? You don't want to sell the put at a higher price. Do you sell the call in case? Well, remember, if I sold the put let's say, you know, let's look at Fortinet right now. I'm trying to remember the number I had for Fortinet. Oh, there it is. So I have the $45 put on Fortinet, which is right here. So I basically said, I'll buy it there. The premium was really high. The premiums for Fortinet have been very high because it's just extremely volatile. So I sold the 45s. And I have until December, I think I did December 15th on those ones. I'm not 100% sure. I got to look at my account. Actually, you know what? Here, let me just bring it up real quick, and that way I can have the numbers and not guessing, but I have so many different positions open. Sometimes I forget exactly what my strikes are, but I will tell you here on the FTNT. Give me 1 second as I bring it up. Basically, you know, if I don't get filled at 45, who cares? I don't really care. If I get it, I'm happy with that. If not, yeah. So I have the 45s. That was for December 15th. So I do have a few more weeks on this one. But, you know, I don't think it's going to get to 45. And if it keeps on going here, Ganesh, if it goes up to $60, $70, $80, you know, obviously I would love to have capitalized on that move, but I'm still collecting all that premium, or keeping all that premium that I had on Fortinet. I had a big block a while back, and I sold half of my position, so I had 80, and now I have 40 contracts. So all in all, we're okay on that trade. I think, let me see, this give me percentage rate of return. On that trade, just since I opened it, which was, I believe it was actually on that day, November 3rd. Here we are, you know, 2 weeks later, that trade is up 82.84%. So I'm okay with that. And if it keeps on rallying from here, I will make 100% of my rate of return on my investment. I'll keep all my premium that I've collected. DKNG, huh? DraftKings. I mean, look at that chart. I'm not a big fan of these types of sites. I love sports. I love playing fantasy football, but I don't really like wagering on sports, but that's just me. You said keep on riding Dollar King. Yeah, but I expect there to be a pullback here. That's been just a gigantic move. You know, the trend is up for sure. So, yeah, long's where you want to be, but I wouldn't be adding my position right now. I'd be looking for a pullback in this uptrend to buy back in and hopefully join. But, yeah, the trend looks great. It looks ripping to the upside. Let me see. There's one question that came through. I'll read these two. They're both from Les. Les said, my question is about hammer candle that is part of an uptrend segment. Can it be considered a continuation candle, or would it be considered a sign of weakness since there was retracement showing sellers? So what you're asking for is really what's called a hanging man formation. And let me bring up a platform here and see if I can bring that one up for you guys. It's going to take me a second. Hopefully my computer won't crash because this software is pretty resource intensive. But let's go and bring it up here. 1 second. Oops. Let's see if I never remember the password of this one. I say I rarely use my TradeStation account anymore, but it has a scan and filter in there for they're called a hanging man. So when you get a hammer formation near the top of an uptrend, that's called a hanging man formation. And according to Steve Nissen, who is the guru who wrote everything to do with candlesticks, in his opinion, that is a bearish sign. It's a reversal candle when it's at the top of an uptrend or when you've had a nice rally like that. I gotta be honest, I disagree with that. I still think that if you take the hammer formation by itself and don't have any other candles with it, it tells you a story. It tells you, and for those, let me just draw it since this is taking forever over here. I'll just do it the old-fashioned way and draw the dang examples in. So bear with me as I bring it up here. Add in a blank screen for you, and then we will grab the pen and do some drawing. Okay, so this is the blank screen, and what you're asking for, let me get my desk clean here for a second. What you're asking for is if we have price moving up like this, all right, so I'm going to go all the way over here. All right, come on. There it is. I've got an uptrend, right? An uptrend segment, and you're saying I have this little guy right here. And you're saying, well, that's a hammer. That's not. That's called a hanging man. All right, I'll spell it out for you. Hanging man. Oops. Steve Nissen says that this is a reversal, and he believes that it's going to go to the downside here. When I look at this candle by itself, and I'll draw it bigger over here if we can all see, when I have that candle by itself, and it could be red or green, doesn't really matter, red or green. Ideally, you'd want this thing to be red if you're looking for a reversal pattern. But bottom line is, we could draw lines across here and across here, right? There was your low for the period. And there is your high for the period. For whatever reason, this candle, this period of time, it sold all the way off down to this low. So to me, that's the big weakness sign, particularly if it's been in a big uptrend like this. It had weakness and sold off. Therefore, that means that the sellers are coming back into the equation. And I feel personally that is a bearish sign. It's a sign of weakness. Now, granted, we did have buyers come back in and push it back up, but all in all, I still personally think it's a bearish candle. So right now, if we look at the NASDAQ or the S&P 500, here are the amount of hanging mans we have right now. There are a lot of them. Right now, there are 34 hanging mans on the market. Let me write a couple of these symbols down. Actually, I'll move the platform over here, and then I'll just bring up my browser, and we'll look at these in TradingView real quick. All right, so I can't read what you guys are typing. If you are typing anything, just I'll give me a second to read it. But if we look at something like Google, it says Google House on it. So that's kind of a hanging man. Not the greatest, but it does illustrate that point where we had a big market rally and then this kind of hammer-looking formation near the top. Again, that's going to be a hanging man. Let me find one that looks really good. How about Skyworks? All right, this might be a better representation. I think for Les to look at exactly what you're asking about. Here you have a double bottom happen on Skyworks over the past month and a half. Made a new high, and all of a sudden you have this pattern here, which according to Steve Nissen is a reversal pattern. Well, look, when you have a pattern like that, I would say don't just jump on it because you believe it's a reversal pattern. I think what you should be doing is, if you think that's bullish or bearish, fine. But why don't you just put lines around the range, right? There's your high, there's your low of that candle, and until it breaks the upside of 94.23, you don't do anything. If it breaks 94.23 to the upside, you go long. If it breaks 93.14 to the south side, you go short, right? That just removes a lot of the the difficulty in making, when do I make the trade? Well, just let the market do what it has to do, and therefore come to you. Apple has one as well, right? There's a beautiful uptrend, been rocking to the upside, and all of a sudden Apple has this little hanging man formation, according to Steve Nissen. That's going to be a reversal. Well, if it's a reversal, it's got to break the lows, in my opinion. Therefore, that's where my trade for Apple would be made. If it stays within this range between 188.57 and 190.38, don't do anything. If it breaks out above it or below it, go long or go short accordingly. So that's the easy one. And for Monday, again, I'm going to try my best to not do any trading here the last couple of weeks. I want to take it easy and relax and hopefully get some stuff I need to get done. But I thought, hey, Joachim, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you very much for your continuous donations, by the way, I might say. I really do appreciate it. For one thing for you guys to keep an eye on next week, check out Cigna. Ticker symbol is CI, right? So Cigna was outside his lower Bollinger Band today. It came down into an area of demand, and it has a hammer formation. So really, if you're looking at this thing from a traded kind of perspective, you'd be looking at demand zone down here somewhere. Well, we tailed into it today. If you're one of those people that loves Bollinger Bands, I know we've got a lot of fans out there. I do like Bollinger Bands. I just never have them on my chart. You go here and you go Bollinger Bands. Oh, great. Oh, it actually let me do it. Okay. Notice this thing is pierced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the last 7 days. 6 out of the last 7 days. It's broken below its lower Bollinger Band. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's a buy point, but now I have it broke the lower Bollinger Bands into an area of demand. This could be a great opportunity for you on Monday for a potential long opportunity. But again, it's the same basic rules. It's got to break the high of that candle, which is going to be 280.297. Your stop loss will be somewhere below the low, which is 177 even. So there you go. GD says, where is Merlin going now? I'm not really going anywhere. I don't think I'm going to be taking off, going anywhere this week. I may do a couple intraday short trips. I have a bunch of things personally I need to get done. I'm just kind of falling behind on personal issues with my home and different things I want to get taken care of. Plus, obviously, I'm getting ready for Thanksgiving and the holiday week, which I hope everybody here has a fantastic Thanksgiving, does something fun, enjoys family and friends, and does all that stuff. Other than that, nothing planned this upcoming week. The week after, I will be going to Hawaii. Mahalo. Very cheap airfare out to Hawaii. Tom says, sports and betting have a weird relationship. There is an NFL player suspended for betting. His team helmet sponsor is bet. Well, yeah. Isn't it, you look at somebody like Pete Rose. Right, Pete Rose, in my opinion, should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no reason that guy should not be in the Hall of Fame. You know why? He bet on sports. Did he bet on his team to lose? See, if he bet on the Cincinnati Reds to lose, then I'd have a problem with Pete Rose, right? If I'm a 49ers fan, if any of my 49er players bet that the team is going to lose, they should be fined, banned from sports. You should never bet against your team. But if Pete Rose was always betting on the Reds to win, then he has even more incentive to play better. So bravo. I think if you think about it, every day should be a bet that your team is going to win. There's your incentive right there. You get a bigger payout than your salary might be. So Pete Rose should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of embarrassing that he's not, and he's still, making money by going around and signing autographs. He should be legendary. Yet Alex Rodriguez can stick a needle in his arm and turn from a guy like my size to a gigantic monster that's hitting record-breaking home runs, but that's okay. You can do all these banned substances and illegal drugs to make performance enhancement better, but you can't bet on your team to win. Crazy how that works. Sorry, I went on a sports rant. Cheers to Modelo, probably sponsoring sports right now. All right, Robert says, what will happen if OpenAI and Microsoft, since Sam Altman has quit as CEO? I don't think much will happen there. I think that, Sam Altman's going to go on and move on and do other things. As most tech startup guys do, right? They come up with the concept, they get it going, they finally bring it to fruition, and then they'll dump it off to somebody else and start some new things. Look at Jack Dorsey, right? Jack Dorsey's doing all kinds of different stuff. I don't think it's a big deal at all that Sam Altman has quit as CEO. Most likely in the acquisition, he was required to stay there for a period of time. If you're Sam Altman and you just sold your company for billions of dollars, you guys probably know, I can't think off the top of my head how much OpenAI sold to Microsoft for. 1 second. How much was that? How many billions was that? It doesn't. $13 billion. Okay, so $13 billion. Now, if you're Sam Altman, just hear me out. You're Sam Altman. You come up with this idea. You just sold your company for $14 billion. Even if you only have $1 billion of that's yours. I'm assuming he's got more than that. Would you still want to work there? I think at that point, $1 billion and too many days on this planet. I don't need to be dealing with stress and other people's BS. I am going to go and just fall off the face of the planet and disappear. Yeah. I think Microsoft has enough money to get someone better. Exactly my point, Big Eb. I don't think they're worried at all. Sam Altman did the heavy lifting. Once he conveyed how that project is done and what steps need to be made to continue to make OpenAI better, then Microsoft will bring in somebody, pay him a boatload of money, and keep it going. So not a big deal at all. I'm a huge fan of OpenAI, man. It just blows my mind what can be done with that one. Will BTU keep going higher? Well, let's go check out BTU. Peabody Energy. I'll be honest, Michael, it's looking a lot better. He's on the way to Shark Tank. It's looking a lot better than a lot of the stuff that you've asked me about in the past, Michael. I'll be honest. You know why? Because most of the stuff that you've asked me to look at has aggressive downtrends, like just brutal. Like a lot of the stuff you asked me about looks like this, right? And it's trash. I mean, could this be something? Maybe. But if you look at this one, Peabody Energy, you at least have something that is showing some strength. Now, it's not tremendous strength, obviously. It's not screaming to the upside, but it looks like it's been doing fairly good going back into June of, or actually go earlier than that, going to late May. You've got an uptrend going, right? You're making higher highs, higher lows. I do think that Peabody Energy will probably continue to the upside just based off what's happened since June. I like it. This one looks good. No, Sam Altman is on the way to Shark Tank. Oh, man. That's a pretty dang funny show, Shark Tank. All right, so I think I got most of those questions answered. Let me ask this last one, and then I'm going to wrap things up here and go. I am not going to do shows next week. So you guys, unfortunately, this is bad news for you. That means like 3 weeks. 3 weeks of no TraderMerlin show. I actually don't know what I'm going to do with myself because I'm like addicted to it. I had a sore throat today. My girlfriend's like, you better not do a show. I'm like, I'm doing a show. I'm doing that show. My throat's going out on me, but I'm going to do that show. Les asked this question. He says, with BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, will they limit the amount of shares they sell? I read reports that there has been a lot of Bitcoin buying. We see that in the charts. By maybe BlackRock. If this is correct, how much more Bitcoin will BlackRock have to buy? That at this point, Les, that's still an unknown question. It all depends on how much demand there is for that ETF. Now, when we saw when we saw the futures ETF come out. Billions of dollars worth of demand poured in the first couple of weeks of this thing. It was crazy how much billions was pouring in. When we had the futures ETF, billions of dollars poured into those products. There's more excitement about this one, right? There's more excitement about the spot ETF. Now, real quick, let me just show you, just to put it into perspective. Now, this is a little bit misleading because obviously the price of gold has gone up so dramatically. But let me go here to a weekly time frame. Look back at 2005, right? And I'll just go right here. And we'll do a percentage move from that exact day, which was November 15th of 2004 is when the gold ETF came to be, right? And gold has surged from there because obviously people now have access to a better way to buy gold. That's moved up a total of 305%, all right, from the 2004 lows. Now, I wonder if I can pull up the spot price here. Let's see how far back the futures will get me. 1 second. I did GLD. That was 2004. So we'll go to the futures. I don't know if I can get that far back. Oh yeah, easy, right? So if we go here to where we are there, and you go back to roughly the same price, you're looking, in my opinion, I think that this is largely a good instigator of price appreciation. I believe that because you have a spot Bitcoin or gold ETF, which takes possession of gold, that demand for GLD drives up the price of gold, and I believe that the demand for the spot Bitcoin ETF by BlackRock or ARK or Fidelity or whoever gets it, hopefully all of them, is going to move up. Now, how much do they have to buy? We just don't know that. It all depends on the amount of demand. I believe what will happen is 3 or 4 will get approved. There will be a big surge in demand for those, but what will probably happen is it will fluctuate and move towards one big name. So while we'll have 3 or 4 different ETFs out there that are spot, it'll probably go to BlackRock. BlackRock will probably get all the volume. They'll push for it, and then you see the other ones kind of fizzle out. When they fizzle out, those other ones are going to have to sell their Bitcoin, and they might be selling over to BlackRock. So I do agree with you that I believe a lot of the transactions happening right now are the institutions getting ready for approval. And I don't think that they're done. I think there still needs to be a lot more purchase. Remember, the big thing here is there's only 20 million Bitcoin right now. There's going to be another 1 million created over the next 115 years, right? That's 1 million left to be created. There's 20 million in circulation. And out of that 20 million, it is believed that 6 million have been lost, which means there's 14 million Bitcoin. And these guys are going to have to buy a lot of it to appease that demand for the spot Bitcoin ETF. Again, I wrote that article back in April saying we should see Bitcoin at 45,000 by August if there's that Bitcoin approval. When that Bitcoin approval comes, I do think we'll be at 45,000 on Bitcoin, probably higher. So there we go. Okay, that's going to do it for me. Let me, so I'm back around on December 11th. Yep. I know, Big Ev, I'm bummed. I do miss doing this. It's going to be a tough one for me. Obviously, the class that I'm going to be teaching for Online Trading Academy in Irvine, that'll appease my market fix because I get to talk about markets all day long in that class. The Hawaii week is going to be a challenging one. I certainly want to be talking about markets, but I'm going to just take a break from it and relax and rejuvenate a little bit. Maybe this coming week, Thanksgiving week, I'm going to try to work as much as I can on my book. Pepe, you can have the first copy. We'll get to that first copy. So, Tom says, will a Bitcoin ETF be priced as a variable of Bitcoin, or will it be purely bid-ask? I can see the demand for an ETF being so very high, it could bid up beyond. Yeah, I think what you'll get at the very beginning is discrepancies between the spot Bitcoin ETF and the regular one, and the real price. What I'm hoping is that the Bitcoin ETF, the spot Bitcoin ETF, is quoted in like GBTC does, right? I love the way GBTC is. Right, GBTC says this is 1/1000th of a Bitcoin. At least that way I know what I'm buying. These other ones, Beto, for example, like this is trading at a discount. Obviously, Bitcoin right now is at 36,500, and the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is trading at $28.99. Based off that, Bitcoin should be trading at $28,990. It's not. Right, there's a discrepancy. That's because this is a trust, not an ETF. In theory, the ETF will be tied to the price of Bitcoin, but I agree with you, Tom. I'm not quite sure how wild the differences between those two will be. They're not always going to be 100% correlated. If there's massive demand for the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, it might drive the price higher than Bitcoin actually is. But remember, there's algorithms in place that are taking that arbitrage. But it's a great question. I don't know if they'll bid it up past its nominal value, or maybe it sells off. If everyone starts selling that Bitcoin ETF, does that now flood price lower than the actual spot price? It potentially could. If I'm BlackRock, though, I think one of my sales pitches to the SEC is we have a system in place. We're set up with Binance or some other firm that will arbitrage that. So while we're holding, let's say, 200,000 Bitcoin, if all of a sudden people start unloading and trying to manipulate the price of our Bitcoin ETF, we'll arbitrage that with the stuff that's at the exchange. I think that will probably help the SEC and regulators feel more comfortable approving a Bitcoin ETF, because they're concerned about people manipulating the price of them right now, which I understand. 3 weeks, I know. Go to Rio, Sly. Go to Rio. I know. I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks, Michael. Well, I'm taking next week off. I'm on vacation for 2 weeks. And while I love doing this show, I think you guys would all agree that there's no monetary real compensation for me to do this. I spend a lot of time getting materials ready and researching and just, getting slides and production and all that stuff. If there was big compensation for this, yeah, I'd probably do it every day. Why not? But for now, I get contributions from you guys, some ad dollars, but it ends up being a couple $100 a month. That's not enough to incentivize me. Making $10 a day or $5 a day in ads, not enough for me to tear me away from my vacation or getting some other stuff done. So yeah, I'm taking next week off for just get stuff done. Week after that, I'm in vacation, and then I teach a class after that, so I'm back December 11th. I know. I'm probably going to lose all my viewers. You guys are all going to leave and disappear. I'll have to start all brand new. I'm going to have to go do a TikTok channel and, say obscene things and shock value to get people to watch my channel going forward. Let's see. Ganesh says, when people can buy Bitcoin even now and the general demand is as much as it is, why should a spot ETF increase that demand? Ganesh, the real reason is this. Many people are intimidated by the method by which you have to go buy Bitcoin. So even if you take the time and open up a Coinbase or a Kraken or a Gemini account, you still have to understand how to buy it. And a lot of people new to crypto or just markets in general don't know, right? They want to go to somebody like Robinhood that just has a button that says buy. Well, there's a lot of people that don't want to do that, right? A lot of people just have their normal investment accounts or a 401k, an IRA, and they're like, it's too much work. But now if an ETF, a spot Bitcoin ETF is there, which actually holds physical Bitcoin, now all these investors in the United States who are thinking about it, right? Maybe I'll buy a little bit of Bitcoin. Maybe I'll put some in my IRA or my 401k. Now they could simply hit a button and buy the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF and have exposure. So to me, as someone who sees the opportunity for crypto and Bitcoin to surge higher, it's really about you're opening the doors to a bigger audience. You're taking every American investor, because most Americans have some sort of investment account, whether it's retirement or not, and you're now allowing them to take that money and buy Bitcoin with it, as opposed to making them go to another exchange, learn a new technology, learn a new language, store their Bitcoin, and keep their private keys. People are like, it's too much. But if I have a spot Bitcoin ETF that I'm used to, I can just hit a button and buy it, and I think it brings in a whole lot of new buyers to me. What do I think about these BTO and BTEF? I think they're dog crap. I wouldn't touch them. They're garbage. They're not actually holding Bitcoin. They're holding some Bitcoin. They're holding some bonds. They're holding all kinds of mixed different instruments. And here's my simple answer for you on that one, Michael. If you go to BTO, right, this is the ProShare Strategy Bitcoin ETF. It's trading at $18.38. What are you buying? You just tell me what you're buying. And you're like, well, I'm buying a Bitcoin ETF. Are you? You just really don't know. I'd feel much better if the price of this was, $36.56. That'd be 1/1000th of a Bitcoin. Or make it $365.65. That's 1/10 of a Bitcoin, right? $18.38. I don't have anything to compare that to. And then BTF. Oh, this one's trading at $13.43. Now that makes sense, right? They don't make sense to me. I'm not a fan. They're Bitcoin futures. You suffer from contango and backwardation, so I'm not a fan of the futures products. I will definitely leave those ones alone. All right. I didn't want to do an hour show, but you guys just pull me in. You pull me back in. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, guys. 3 weeks. 3 weeks without me. I apologize, but I got to do it. I was planning on doing shows next week, but I got to take care of my stuff that I got to take care of. So if you see a random stream, maybe I'll pop on if I have some free time and just randomly do one, but it's not going to be consistent. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your understanding and support over the years. If you have things you want to discuss while I'm gone, you can always email me, TraderMerlin@gmail.com. Maybe it'll spur my inclination to do a live show or do some video for you guys. That said, it's holiday week, right? We're going into Thanksgiving. My words of advice for you are next Friday, don't trade. It's going to be a very light week. Friday is a very light day. You're also going to have an announcement, which is the services manufacturing numbers coming out at 9:45 Eastern Time on Friday. It's a half day, low liquidity, and you're going to have a pretty significant announcement that could create massive volatility. So don't get whipsawed and tore up in that market. Take the rest of the week off, at least from next week. Go spend time with family and friends. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope you all have a tryptophan hangover, and I will see you guys in about 3 weeks. Cheers, everybody.